Is it just rolling? Yeah, just keep it rolling. We got this for like 55 minutes. No, we're going to stop acting on what we're talking. Let's do that. They complain that, hey, before I even start, I know there's like a timer somewhere. I got 55 minutes. Don't start the timer yet. I just want to say like wow. And I'll say it backwards. Like, wow. Just like, this gig is legit. I drove in the fog. I never been to a CLS gig. I came in my California League of Schools. This place is like a tribe. Man, I see people connecting with people they haven't seen since the last tribe gathering, and the fact that CLS is jamming with the folks from Q, this is like, yeah, both of you guys are here. It's like two great gigs that go great together. You know, this is like that family reunion where just your favorite aunts and uncles show up, right? Your crazy cousins stay home and watch the kids. Like, this is great. What I love about this, right, is that, like, I was talking to Colleen. Give it up for Colleen back there. She put this whole thing together. Woo! I was talking to Colleen. I said, hey, Colleen, I'm super excited to jam with the CLS crew. What's this all about? What's your thing? And she goes, hey, CLS isn't just a technology conference where you come for the tools. CLS is like a family. Like, you come together with people that you haven't connected with since the last time you connected with them. And so that it made me think, the people we learn with are the people we lean on. Like, you're going to learn to use some tool today in a conference session, and you're going to go back to your classroom on Monday morning, and you're like, hey, this is going super smooth. Like, who's that lady I was sitting next to in that one session? Help! Right? The whole idea is you come here, not just for the technology tool that you implement on Monday morning, but so you can kind of curate a tribe of people that you can lean on while you're learning. And so Colleen said, hey, I'd love for you to talk about that creativity that it takes to learn something at a conference and implement it on Monday morning. Right? Well, that creative space that you need to have to learn something today on Saturday morning and then on Monday morning start using it and then take it from there into your future. Like, we hope that today you go to a session, you walk into Corey Koval's session on coding and you're like, oh, I got this. And you grab a seed. And we hope you walk in on Monday morning, because if you wait till Tuesday, you'll lose it. Right? You'll lose it. But Monday morning, plant that seed. In the next 5 years, you water that idea until it grows into a forest in your classroom. Like, the idea is that these conferences aren't a one and done. You don't just come here and learn something like, oh, I'm super smart now. I got this, right? You get something, you put it into use in your classroom, but even more importantly, you now have a tribe of people to lean on as you water that idea and grow it into a forest. So I'm super excited to be here, get a jam on that topic. What's really cool about this gig is, this whole room is filled with an incredibly diverse group of learners. Like, you got people teaching AP chemistry at the high school level. You got kindergarten, first grade teachers here. You're all going to walk into a session today and see the same tool, but there is no way you're going to use that tool the same way on Monday morning. The kindergarten teacher is going to use it one way, the AP chem teacher is going to use it another way. So it takes your creativity to take it from today and have it on Monday. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Hey, let's do a little roll call. Who's in the room right now? How many people here in the room are kindergarten, first or second grade? K2? K2? Oh, yes. Thank you for teaching us to read. If it wasn't for you, the slide would just be a colorful bunch of blobs. Like, look, the AP Chem teacher would be like, my content is the most important content in the entire universe, which is maybe true, but none of us can do it if it wasn't for you guys. Like, none of us can learn a thing if it wasn't for the K2 teachers. How many people 3-5? Like, we went from learning to read to reading to learn. There we go. All the 3-5 people. You had a great gig, right? Because the kids come into you, they're starting to formulate their own ideas, defend their own arguments. You get to, encourage them to become little independent thinkers. I think the 3-5 is a great gig because they're starting to have their own independent thoughts, but they still respect your thoughts. Which is different because in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, they're like, I got thoughts, keep yours to yourself. Right? How many middle school teachers here? Middle school people? Yeah! Those are my people. You are a weird bunch of people. Right? You're like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Hang out with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Right? Right? Like, I think middle school per capita, more middle school teachers are on Snapchat than any other teacher. The teacher's like, well, they're on it. They get it. They're on it too. Right? 6th, 7th, 8th grade, man, you're a special group of people. If you want to get in a room with pre-adolescents all day and jam on what you jam on, God bless you. We need middle school because it's like, I say like, keep Portland weird. I think keep middle school weird. Keep middle school weird, it's okay, because that is the last time they're still kind of defending arguments that don't make any sense. And that's okay, because you better learn to make an argument and then see it out loud. Does it make sense? No? Okay, because we in high school, you got a transcript. Now you got to defend an argument that follows you forever. Right? How many high school teachers in the room? Yeah, I'm a high school teacher. I love it in high school. High school's a trip because it's kind of like a mini college. It's all compartmentalized, right? I'm in the social science department. We're going to take over the world. And I'm in the math department. I actually matter. It's just, there's just rivalries in the high school, It's so diverse even within the high school itself. But here we are. We're at kindergarten through 12th grade jam session right here in this room. There's no way the AP Chem teacher is going to see the same thing in flip grid that the kindergarten teacher sees. So you better take your own creativity to the sessions with you this afternoon, because you got to take those sessions back to your classroom. We don't just have K-12 teachers, right? We have a really diverse group. Any special education teachers here? Special, yeah. I dream, because I love me some technology, right? I dream that technology is one of the gateways that allows equity and access for our most at-risk learners. I hope that differentiation really happens due to technology in the classrooms to allow access and equity for our students with disabilities. I love that jam right there. So any special educators who are here in the room, I hope you get what you need and bring some more back with you. I want more special educators in these rooms talking about technology and how it can help kids. Any toasters out there? Teachers on special? Toaster, people, what's up? Yes! Oh, that's a tough gig. Y'all lost your lunchroom. You know what I mean? You were just teaching and doing your thing. And hey, you want to be a toaster? That sounds awesome. Be a toaster. You went in the lunchroom. I got all quiet. I've been eating for 12 years. Aren't you an admin now? No, that's in the title. Teacher on special assignment. I'm still a teacher, right? It's a tough gig. You're like toasters hanging out in their car, lunch, eating chicken nuggets, listening to podcasts. What's up? Check it out, right? It's a tough gig. Toasting gig. I love me some toasters, man. We couldn't do this whole gig without you, little guy on the side, right? How many admin here? Dun, 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 dun. Yes! I live on the Death Star. I know admin. Live along the Death Star. It's a highly organized place, man. Everybody walking in straight lines with different Hey, man, we need everybody, right? We need everybody. My admin people, we need you to keep the lights on, the toasters. You need to keep the wheels greased so we're all still learning K through 12. You got to jam with the kids. We need everybody in the room to make this all happen, right? There's no bad job. There ain't no easy job either. If you're in K-12 education, like, oh, I'm going to go get that job. That's the easy one. Get out. There's no easy job in education. Anybody here in your first 5 years of teaching? First 5 years. That's my people right there. Give them a round of applause. Hey, if you are in your first 5 years of teaching, we are all wrapping around you right now. We all came to this conference to sit on the buddy bench next to the first year teacher. I'm serious. You need to help out the people in the first 5 years because, hey, this is a tough gig. And the problem with being the first 5 teachers, too many first 5 teachers get out of the industry, don't leave. Here's my lean in. Here's my secret. Thank you, that was cool. You leaned. Don't give up. It gets way better. Year 6 is way better than year 2, and I'm telling you what, year 2 is super exciting. But if you're a first 5-year teacher, like, the game is moving fast. You don't even know what's happening. You're up there talking, doing your thing, pointing at the whiteboard, fiddling with the projector. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're talking, spit wad right there. You just keep talking because you're like, maybe nobody noticed, and I'm going to keep talking. I don't know where that spit wad came from. Maybe nobody else will either. But first year, you're like, this is awful. It's so fast. But I promise about year 6, you'll be like a Jedi, man. You like start to anticipate what's going to happen before it happens. You up there talking and doing your thing and fiddling with the projector, and like all of a sudden everything goes into slow motion. Go to the principal's office. Because you're like, you saw it coming by the 6th year. you know what's going to happen before it happens. So if you're in the first 5 years of teaching, I promise it gets better. This is a diverse group of learners right here for the CLSQ conference. So I'm super excited to talk about, like, how do we take what we learned today and then implement it in our diverse classrooms when we get back on Monday morning. I'm super fired up. I guess, hi, I'm John. I don't know if I started with that. I'm John Eick. I always forget that. Yes, hey, I'm John Eick. That's a picture of me right there. I've been drawing that on desks since about 5th grade. If you got one in your district, sorry about that. That was a good desk. Some of you probably still have desks that are that old. I know us too. Furniture just never seems to go away. I want to talk today about learning, not just student learning though. I want to talk about us as learners. Because we're at a conference today. This is your classroom. You came here to learn something today. So I want to talk about your learning, our learning, and if we keep learning, what will happen to the kids in front of us? They'll keep learning too. So I want to talk about learning. I want to talk about learning like a rubber band. And we'll get into it as we roll, because I think this is what's going to lead to your creativity. I've got a model that I'd like to share with you today that I think is going to allow you to be creative and fill that creative space between the conference today. Ooh. I make some sound effects. I'm going to cut off here. There's a lot of ooh. In my house, I'm like, hey, honey, where's the little because I got for the thing before I to work. She's like, it's in the drawer. I think it's your creativity that's going to allow you to take learning from today and implement it on Monday. You're not going to go into any sessions today where there's just a straight set of instructions. This is how this tool works perfectly in your classroom. Because not only might I not teach your grade level, I don't know your kids. So whoever's teaching the session today, they're bringing their creativity to that session. They're going to take your creativity to make that session content work for you. Now, another thing about that is it's like, today when we go into sessions, we're learning all these tools. The tools don't teach kids. Teachers teach kids, right? And tools aren't creative. They're tools. Teachers are creative. And we use tools to make learning happen creatively in our classroom. And so today I want to make sure that we're not talking about tools, that we're talking about teaching, and that we're using the tools creatively to bring the magic forward for our kids. I want to talk about using technology creatively. I want to do a checkup from the neck up. I want to do a little brain basket scan on everybody in the room. I want to know, how comfortable are you using technology creatively? On a scale of 1 to 5, I'm going to have you throw it up in a second. A 5 would be like, you recognize the tool can be used in multiple different ways. You recognize you can use a Google Doc to have kids write an essay. You can turn the Google Doc sideways and throw in some images and some shapes, and they can, on the Google Doc, make a flow chart. You recognize the Google Doc can be a grocery list, and it's in real time. You have your spouse picking things up as you're typing from home. You recognize the Google Doc can be used as a tool many different creative ways. You're a 5. You're like, oh yeah, that is my painter's palette. I'm a 5. I'm allergic to paper. Like, we don't use paper in my classroom, right? It's messy, right? We just use technology creatively. You're a 5. Good for you. On a scale of 1 to 5, you're a 3 if you're like, hey, I like technology. I use it creatively. I use it in my classroom. I use it at home. But the truth is, I've been burned. Oh yeah, I've been burned, right? I stayed up all night one night, get my Google Classroom all ready to go. My principal's coming in from a formal observation the next day. Kids were all there, got the Chromebooks over, and the Wi-Fi went down. Oh, I've been burned. Oh yeah, I like to use technology creatively, but if this guy's like neck deep in the water, he's a 5, I'm like, oh, in the water, how's that feel? Right? You're a 3, that's okay. You don't have to be a 5, you don't have to be a 3. How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 5? 5, you're neck deep. 3, you're toe in the water. If you're a 1 on a scale of 1 to 5, use this finger. This one's cool, but you know what I'm saying. If you're a 1, you're like, what am I doing at a technology conference? I heard the view from the 10th floor was really good though. Okay. Right? A 1 is like, hey, technology's not my jam, but I'm here. Maybe tomorrow I'll be it too. Right? Got a growth mindset. Hey, scale of 1 to 5. Where are you on using technology creative? Wait, hold up, don't throw it up high. Don't be like, oh, I'm a 5. Because you're here with your teaching partner, and she should be like, she's really a 3. If the copy machine counts as technology, she's been burned. On Thursday, before we came here on Friday, she took a whole prep period jamming that thing up. Burned. Right? Don't throw it up high, don't brag. And I just want to kind of check up from the neck. I'm like, who's in the room? Who am I talking to, right? Skill of hold it low. So just, I guess, here. On go. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 5? 1, 2, 3, go. Where are you at? Where are you at? You're 3 by 4, thinking, be honest, cool. This finger, and this finger. That's good. That's the one about. Yeah, what up, 3? Yeah, cool, good. Cool, little gate cluster here. Yeah, you can't be 5.5. It's only 5. Cool, right on. Just waving. It's good to see you. Yeah, that's honest. I see some people doing halfers. 3.5, 1.5. 3.5. Cool. Hey, the reason I ask that is this. We are as diverse a group of learners as our students are, right? We got the gate cluster over here. We got the lady throwing the bird. We got like a diverse. You got it just like middle school. Like you got a diverse group of learners in the room here, and we're from diverse backgrounds, kindergarten through AP, Chem, and everything in between. And so it's important that we start talking about like how do we individualize the learning for each of the places that we're at. And so today I want to kind of riff through 3 models that I think will help inspire creativity, so you can take things from today's conference and put them into play on Monday morning. I'm going to talk about the rubber band theory. Some of my friends, more team systems out there, Corey Cole, like, oh, here he goes, stretching the rubber band again. I'm going to talk about rubber band theory because that's about learning. The next piece I'm going to talk about is the SAMR model because that's an implementation model. How do I take what I learned and then implement it on Monday morning? And the last piece I'm going to talk about is the power of celebration because that is the fuel that keeps us going. Now, the first piece is the rubber band theory. This came down my way probably 12, 15 years ago. I was a high school teacher at a large urban high school in Sacramento. Loved this gig, man. I was a high school teacher, loved my kids. I moved into the neighborhood, so I was like, this is cool. Like, I'm jamming with the kids in school. I'm going to the grocery store. Like, ooh, ooh. I still live in that neighborhood. Now I've got kids from that high school bringing their children to me where I work in a K-8. I feel old. It's wild, right? It's cool being in one neighborhood for a long, long time. I was working at this high school many years back, and I was doing a pretty good job. I mean, I was trying my best to follow along the flow. And the principal walked in and said, hey, you dig the kids, you like the community. Have you ever thought about, and here it comes, hey, have you ever thought about going into administration? And I did what any good person would do in that moment. I laughed. And then I did what we all do when we don't want to be rude. We ask the question back in a higher tone. Administration? Right? But that was it, man. The seed was planted. I went from the high school classroom into the administration of that high school where I worked and started my career. And I loved this gig. I became a vice principal. But what happened was I wasn't ready to be a vice principal. And I wasn't ready to become the principal. But on the second year of being a vice principal, I walked into the principal's office. And he was laying on the floor. And he's like, call 911. And I only tell you this now because everything turned out fine. He's very happy. He just wasn't happy with that job. Right? That dude got an ambulance and left. And I should have been like, wow, that office almost killed that dude. Right? But instead what happened was he was gone. And so somebody had to run the staff meeting on Tuesday. So I was like, staff meeting? Right? And so I started running the staff meetings and the vice principal. We're trying to get the high school moving forward, right? At some point, like 2 months later, the superintendent comes walking in and goes, hey, I hear the principal hasn't been around for 2 months. I'm like, hey, I am surprised it took you so long to get here. Woo! He said, how would you like to be the principal? I said, principal! So that's it, man. Like in a short amount of time, I'm at urban high school. I'm the principal of this school. And for the first time, I kind of look up and realized, and I love this place, but we were definitely in the middle of a urban center in the recession, and I was like, wow, all these kids are wearing red, all these kids are wearing blue, and those aren't the school colors. What's everybody so excited about? Right? And I said, oh boy, we got lots to work on here. And the staff of that school, we were all friends. We thought, okay, let's try and change this school from what it is to what it could become. But it was a hard work, right? And luckily, I had this sage mentor, man. This cat from the district office just appeared one day like a vision in a movie. Like I was breaking up with something, fighting something. I was doing something. We're looking at test scores. Oh my God, test scores are going good. Having a rough day? Where'd you come from? Who are you? I'm your new mentor, right? Dan Kennedy, man, this guy's a genius. He says to me, hey, look, you clearly love the kids, you love the school, you love the community, but if you want this school to become the school that it could become, you need to be constantly learning. You need to be learning your craft because no one around you is going to learn new craft. To move this school in the right direction, if you're not learning, we all have to be learning. It's the same thing in the classroom. The minute we stop learning in our classroom as educators, the kids are like, well, if you're not inspired, I'm not inspired. If you're using the same old worksheet you've been using since 2002, I'm not interested, right? If you're learning, the kids are learning. And as the leader of that school, he's like, hey, if you're not learning, nobody's learning. He said, hey, to learn, you need 3 things. I said, well, bring it on. That's a short list. I can do 3. He said, first, you need to have a desired state, a place you want to be, a place you want to grow to. The rubber band theory is like, you need to be able to envision what change looks like in your life and learn in the direction of that change. This guiding light, it can't be close. It can't be like, oh, I'm 30 pounds overweight, I'm going to lose 2 pounds. Perfect, let's celebrate with a donut. Like, it can't be that easy. It's got to be like out of reach. You got to be saying, hey, this is the place I want to reach to, but it's going to take several steps to get there. Check. You might go to a conference session today, and you might see a presenter talk about a classroom that's infused with technology and that student voice is on fire and that everything's going smoothly, and you're like, check. That could be my desired state. That's where I want to be. Well, if you got a desired state, Dan Kennedy said the second thing you need is a current reality, a checkup from the neck up. You need to know who you are, where you are, what you're actually capable of in the moment today. So if you want that classroom infused with technology, rocking student voice, and your current reality is, what's a Chromebook again? I don't know if I read that one. Is it good? Right? If that's your current reality, fine. But you gotta be honest about it and know it and get it and be like, that's my current reality. And Dan Kennedy said, if you're gonna learn the direction of your desired state, all you're armed with is a rubber band. He says you gotta stretch that rubber band in the direction of your desired state and learn one thing, one tip, one trick, one pedagogy, and try one thing. You just stretch that rubber band in the direction of your desired state, and you gotta hold on. You gotta hold on to that rubber band because once you feel the tension, you know it's working. You know learning is happening if you feel the tension, right? If you stretch your rubber band in the direction of your desired state and you hold on and you fail the first time, try it again, you fail the second time, try again. What happens is eventually that tension is going to lead you in the direction of your desired state. As soon as that one protocol, that one practice, that one new technology, that one new tip, as soon as that starts to become a habit, stretch again. And let the tension move you toward the direction of your desired state. What it does is it inspires us to only move one stretch at a time. But here's the thing, everybody. You've all got a rubber band. And only you can stretch your own rubber band. We've all been to that district PD where they're like, hey, welcome, we've only got 8 hours. That's the desired state. You all got your own current reality. They take your rubber band and go, whoop. They try and stretch it all at one time. What happens? Rubber band snaps. You hurt your hand. You're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going back to the filing cabinet and grab that worksheet. It's been working since 2002. It'll continue working today. You keep your desired state, right? Nobody can stretch your rubber band for you. And if somebody tries to stretch your rubber band too far, too fast, you're out of your comfort zone, you're out of your creative zone, and you can't learn, right? The other thing is this. Everybody's got a different rubber band. Everybody's got a different size rubber band, right? Some of you guys out here, like this crazy growth mindset, amazing fast learners, are, ooh, desired state. Watch this. Monday, whoop, Tuesday, I'm rocking Flipgrid. That was easy, right? But some of us have different size rubber bands. Some of us are a little bit older, right? Some of us have those rubber bands. You remember remember the rubber band you had at your races? Ooh, that's it! That's all I got! I feel the tension! How long is it gonna work? Keep trying! How long is it gonna work? Oh wait! Oh, it's working! It's working! It doesn't matter. If you got a little tiny rubber band or a big elastic rubber band, you stretch as far as you can in the direction of your own learning, and then you manage your own learning in the direction of your desired state. When I was the principal of that high school, this was kind of my my guiding light. I said, I want these kids to graduate across that stage. And Dan Kennedy said, hey, when you feel the tension, you know it's working. Now, all of you are going to go into a conference session today, and you're going to see something like, oh, I could do that. That could be part of my desired state. But I want you to remember, that conference presenter today, they are living in a current reality that's different from yours. So they're going to be like, oh, look, I can do all the things. And you're going to be over here going, if I try to stretch all the way over there today, I'm going to snap my rubber band and never come back for seconds. And so it's really important that you find a way to look at the desired state you've bumped into today and start managing it one stretch at a time. If that's your current reality, and that's your desired state, and that's your rubber band stretch, right here is creativity. That's where you allow yourself to be creative. If you try to do what the conference presenter does on Monday morning, you'll snap your rubber band. What your job is to look at what the conference presenter does, create a desired state, and say, I can be creative in this space. This is where I can implement this new technology to help my kids. Inside that space, you're safe because you were in charge of the rubber band. If you try to stretch all the way over there, you'll snap your rubber band, it won't feel safe, and you'll squelch your own creativity. If you want to inspire your creativity, figure out how far you can stretch your rubber band. There's some great research that kind of backs this up. How many people have read this book, Mindset by Carol Dweck? It should have called it Mind Blown, right? This is fantastic research by Dr. Carol Dweck out of Stanford. She coined the phrase growth mindset, which we all see on the Twitters all the time. She says that in the English language, the most powerful word in the English language is the word yet. She says if there's something you can't do, you maybe just can't do it yet. She says if you're looking over at your desired state and you can't get that desired state in one stretch, you just can't get there yet. The idea is, Carol Dweck studied a bunch of fifth graders. She gave them a test they couldn't possibly pass, which was kind of mean. Like, don't do that. But she's a brain researcher. She said, okay, we give these people a test they can't possibly pass. And what she found was they immediately separate into two groups. The first group was a group she called a fixed mindset. She said that these kids took this test and they have a fixed mindset around intelligence. They're like, oh, this is a test. I can't do those things. I can't do it. Their brain waves actually go flat when they meet a challenge that they can't accomplish. Because they have a fixed mindset. They believe, well, I can't do that, so I can't do that. They actually interviewed these kids and said, hey, if you met another test like that, what might you do? The kids were like, I might cheat. Or I might find someone else who did not as well as me and hang out with that person. You're like, oh, we gotta teach that kid. I know that guy. Right? The kid with a fixed mindset believes that intelligence is fixed. And then it's not, they're not able to grow. Whereas the student with a growth mindset, who meets the challenge, their brainwaves actually light up like a Christmas tree when they start taking a test that they can't pass. They start seeing questions that are like, oh, that reminds me of another question that I tried once before. Let me try this strategy. Let me try that strategy. And the important part here is that this growth mindset actually shows that brain elasticity happens when children meet a challenge that they can't yet accomplish. What that means is like the brain creates neural pathways during times of struggle that allows learning to happen. So if you are over here looking at your desired state, feeling the tension of learning something new and implementing it in your classroom, if you give up and be like, well, I can't do that, that's a fixed mindset. But if you say, hey, I only can't do that yet. Oh, I failed. Let me try it again. Oh, let me try it a different way. That right there is going to create neural pathways in your brain that allow for the possibility of yet, that unlock keys to the future. She said the way we do this is by praising wisely. By telling ourselves, well, let me celebrate that I tried. Let me celebrate effort. Let me celebrate the opportunity in solving a challenge as opposed to just the outcome. She says that if you want students to have a growth mindset in the culture of your classroom, don't just put the A+ paper on the wall. If you want kids to have a growth mindset in your classroom, for example, you take a paper with a bunch of red marks on it. Put that on the wall, and when the kid revises, a revision on the wall, and then the kids in the classroom get the idea that, oh, I get it. It's part of a struggle. It started off with a bunch of red marks and turned into an A+ paper. If we just put up the A+, everybody goes, oh, well, I can't do that. We want our kids and ourselves to think, oh, we can't do that yet. So the growth mindset piece supports the rubber band theory, and the important part is that, growth mindset can be learned, and it supports the rubber band, but the most important stretch of the rubber band is which one? It's the very first stretch. If you leave this conference today after learning some great things in a session, and you go back on Monday morning and you don't try anything new, the learning that you brought from the conference will only last a couple of days. Within a week or 2 weeks, all the excitement from the conference will be gone and all the busyness of your work life will happen. You need to go back and figure out how to make that first stretch. The problem with that is we come here, we get overwhelmed. We come here and we're like, oh, I went into a session about students' voice. Oh, I'm going to give my students an opportunity to really amplify their voice. And you go into the session, and the presenter's like, oh, you get your kids build a website. You're like, oh, I've seen the website, but I've never built a website. I know how to use Google Docs. Okay, well, why don't our kids build a website? And on that website, they can put their name at the top. That one's cleverly named Johnny, because that's a kid named Johnny. And then Johnny's going to put a Google Doc on that website. You're already starting to get overwhelmed. You're like, oh boy, they're going to put a Google Doc on the website. They're also going to put PowerPoint slides or Google slides on their website to demonstrate their own learning. Then they're going to put Google drawings on the website, and then they're going to do a video, and then they're going to do a podcast, and all of a sudden your brain is going right? You just get the twitches. You're like, am I in the wrong session? This is overwhelming, right? Because it's a great idea, and it's somebody's current reality, and it may be your desired state, but it is not what you're doing on Monday morning. Otherwise, you will stretch your rubber band too far, too fast. You'll snap and be like, hey, put the Chromebooks away. Get out a dictionary. We're copying some stuff over today. Right? You're like, I'm going back. So how do we take these new and crazy ideas that would create a desired state and actually implement them on Monday morning? And that's when the SAMR model comes in. We start with what we're good at. We start with substitution. So, you are accomplished teachers in your field. You have a classroom culture that's already rocking some learning. The SAMR model stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. What it says is, at the redefinition level, we know technology can redefine the way our classroom actually looks. We know that at some point, student voice can be amplified. The introvert in the back row can create a blog post that goes viral, and that person's voice can be heard across the globe, whereas the old school methodology, that didn't happen in the spiral notebook. So we recognize that technology can really redefine our classroom. However, if you start with redefinition in mind, and you try and get there in one step, you will snap your rubber band and never get there. And so the SAMR model says, look, start with substitution. Substitution is when you take a piece of technology and replace an old technology, but there's no real functional change. I'll give you my example. In my classroom, I put a journal prompt on the board. The kids get out their spiral notebooks and they respond to the prompt in their spiral notebooks. Right? It gives me time to brew coffee, take attendance. I pretend to grade them at the end of the week. They get fake points. It goes in the grade book. We all pretend it's a thing. Right. That's a different keynote. I put the quote on the board, they got the spiral notebook, and they get out the spiral notebook and they respond to the journal prompt. That's what I've always done in my class. I want to have a technology-rich classroom where student voice is amplified, but I can't get there all in one stretch, so I start with substitution. I'm like, okay, cool. Instead of getting out spiral notebooks when you come into my classroom, grab the Chromebooks. Log into the Chromebook, open up the Google Doc, and respond to the journal prompt on the Google Doc. Right now, in the substitution model, there's been no functional change to my lesson plan. It's the same lesson. It's just a different tool. And what it allows you to do is stretch as far as you need to stretch in that first implementation phase that you would do on Monday morning. You're like, I can manage this. And if it takes you a week, great. A month, great. It takes you half a year, great. Stay in substitution as long as you need to. Because eventually you'll be like, oh man, I got this. The kids totally know how to log in. This is super cool. And you get your way up the ladder from substitution to augmentation. At some point, you're going to recognize, hey, that Google Doc allows for some functional change. I mean, there's a big blue share button. Who could they share that with? And maybe they share it with a partner, and the partner's leaving comments on each other's journal prompt, and they're able to peer edit and peer work. And you're like, that's a functional change, a little bit of a functional change, but I used to have them, swap notebooks, so it's not that big of a stretch. So again, we are moving toward a desired state, one stretch at a time. Next thing up, we say, hey, we're starting to cross the transformation line. We're starting to recognize that tool can actually have some significant redesign to my original intent. I can have kids go onto the internet, grab photos, put images into their response to the doc so they can have a visual image that represents their own thoughts. This is starting to change the original product. But if we did that on day one, we stretch a rubber band too far, too fast. Eventually what might happen is you're stretching long, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the road. Those Google Docs are being linked to a platform that is your class website, which basically becomes now a blog post. Kids are blogging. It's out on the internet. People are starting to respond to students' journal prompts. That's so far down the redefinition line. With so much change, you couldn't have done it on day one. What I love about the redefinition piece here is it says, allow for significant redesign that was previously inconceivable. Previously inconceivable! I love that! You know why I love it? Because if I couldn't previously conceive of it, then I don't have to worry about it. Don't think about that down there and how it's all going to work. Because sometimes you go to a technology conference, you learn a new technology tool, and you already start worrying about, well, this is what my kids will do. If I let them blog to the internet, they'll do all these things, and then people will attack the principal, and I'll get, don't worry about what it's going to look like down there. Just have a desired state. The kids are going to have technology-rich classrooms with infusion of student voice and start stretching in that direction one step at a time. And when you get to the redefinition portion of your lesson planning, you're going to realize, oh my gosh, I couldn't have even imagined this before I started this journey. So, we said that was a space for creativity. Now it's a space for substitution. If you start with substitution, it'll allow for creativity, because now you're still you. You're doing your lesson plan, the one that you've always done with a spiral notebook, but you started with substitution, so you're safe. You feel okay. You stretched, but not too far. And now creativity happens in that space because you started with substitution. Now, if it were only that easy, if you only just be like, cool, I got a rubber band. Hey, honey, how was the conference? I got a rubber band. I'm ready to go. What can go wrong? Right? Teaching's a tough gig. You Google teacher at classroom Blackboard, you get this picture. This person looks like she said what she just said like 9 times. She's pushing on that chalkboard just a little too hard with that index finger. She's like, do I have to say it again? Right? Right? This is a hard gig, this teaching gig. It's easy to stand on stage and say, hey man, stretch your rubber band, substitution. You're going to go back on Monday morning and they're going to attack you because you were gone on Friday. Right? Let's be honest. We're a room full of teachers. We all got in this business for the right reason. People are like, summer's off? Yeah, right. Summers are payback for weekend grading. We don't get it's not real. Nobody here got into this gig for summers off. We got in this gig because we dig our content. We love our kids. We love these kids. But we're amongst the tribe. We can be honest. We love the kids. They are vampires. They are vampires. They will suck the life out of you, right? They say a teacher makes 1,500 decisions a day. That's 180 days a year. Do you know how many decisions that is by spring break? They should call it spring break down. It's exhausting. This is why she's pushing so hard on the chalkboard with her finger, right? You make so many decisions every day. You get to spring break and your husband and your wife's like, what do you want for dinner? You're like, I don't know. I can't decide. We're just going to get Happy Meals until summer break. Let's just do this. I'll collect the toys and use them as prizes next year. I can't make any more decisions. This job is so hard. This job is so hard, right? So the best advice I can give you is this, man. There's going to be times where the plane's a little bumpy. An oxygen mask is going to fall from the ceiling, and when it does, please place your oxygen mask over your own mouth before you try to help those around you. you came to this technology conference to get inspired to learn new tools and new tips and new tricks and new pedagogies you can take back to your classroom. Too many teachers in their first 5 years of teaching leave the industry. You know why? Because you jump into the job and you start putting oxygen masks on all the kids and trying to save the kids, and that's awesome. But then you suffocate to death and you leave and get a job at Starbucks. Look, you have got to take care of you're number one. You're number one. You're number one. And I know that's awful to say at a conference with educators. We always come to the conference and we're like, do it for the kids. Hashtag, it's all about the kids. Hashtag, burn yourself out. Hashtag, they need you and deserve you. And I'm like, hashtag, take care of you. Because the deal is, this job is exhausting. If you try to do too much, too far, too fast, you're snapping your own rubber band, you're not any good to anybody. If you're in your first 5 years of teaching and you burn yourself out, you're not doing anybody any favors. You're leaving the industry. We need you to stay. There are too many teachers in their last 5 years who are like, that's it. That's all I got. I ain't learning nothing new. Chromebook, Flipgrid, keep all that. I've already made copies for the next 5 years. I know how many kids I'm going to have. I know how many days a week I need these copies. I am done for the next 5. You're not doing anything. You don't. I work for that guy. Look, people burn out, and so my message to you is this, man. You've got to take care of yourself as an educator because we need you to do this for the kids, and so you need to create a desired state that's about you and about what inspires you and what interests you. Because I guarantee if you are inspired and you are interested in what you are doing, the kids will come along for the ride. If you leave this conference fired up about a new desired state, your kids are going to feel the juice and you're going to be excited. And if you take it at your pace and do only what you can do, the kids are going to benefit. But if you try to go too far, too fast, you're going to burn out, you're snapping rubber band, and we're back to the filing cabinet filled with Hamlet worksheets. Like Shakespeare's dead, it's the same concept. So how do you stay? Like, how do you stay inspired? How do you keep it going? And here it is, man. It is the power of celebration. We celebrate that which we wish to perpetuate. We celebrate that which we wish to perpetuate. When you got a great kid in your classroom, you call them out, you're basically saying, hey, everybody, look at her. Do what she's doing. I want this to perpetuate, right? When we celebrate that which we wish to perpetuate, we do it all the time with our kids in our schools, but I want you to do it for yourself. If you try something really hard on Monday morning, infuse a new piece of technology, and it's really hard, and you fail, what are you going to celebrate? You're going to celebrate the failure, I guess, but you want to celebrate that you tried. Why? Because you want to try again. So every time you try something new in your classroom, you need to celebrate that in the way that you need to be celebrated. Some people are like, ooh, I'm going to drink at 5 o'clock. That's my celebration. Celebrate for yourself effort. Praise wisely. Celebrate trying new things. Celebrate starting with substitution. Don't be that person that leaves the conference and says, oh, I got a desired state, but my rubber band's only this big. That's not much. If that's your rubber band, that's worth celebrating. Whatever you do that's new to you, if you try it, whether you succeed or fail, you celebrate that you tried, because if you celebrate it, you will perpetuate it and you will try again. And before you know it, you will wake up in a place that you never imagined that you could have been. You will be that person when somebody says, oh, you're a techie, but I'm not. And you just say, yet, right? So we celebrate that which we wish to perpetuate. One thing I learned about celebration is this. It's hard to do it alone. It's fun, but you look kind of silly, right? You got the foam finger, you're walking in the hall, I'm number one! I'm number one! Oh yeah, you're not tenured yet, that's a bad idea. It's hard to celebrate alone. So if you came to this conference today with a group of people, other people from your district, should I see your hand? Are you with somebody today? Is there anybody in this room that you know? Is there anybody you know on Twitter, right? Here's what I need you to do. At some point during lunch today, tell people how you like to be celebrated. Now, I learned this because I used to be a principal at Urban High School. I told you that story. Not everybody likes to be celebrated the same way, it turns out. Whoops. I don't know if you get this vibe or not, but I'm a little bit of an extrovert. So I assume everybody wants to be called to the front of the stage and celebrated awkwardly, right? So I'm a high school principal, I'm like, let's celebrate Mrs. Smith back there. Everyone look at Mrs. Smith. Everyone look. And this like, when's transfer reassignment coming up? Go to a different school, right? Because not everybody wants to be called out that way, right? Some people love to have a picture taken and thrown up on Twitter. Man, look what this person's doing. They're so awesome. I see that. I'm like, oh, somebody's celebrating me. Some of you see your picture on Twitter. All you see is like, there's a pair of pants I'll never wear again. Right? Some people want to be celebrated, extroverted. Some people like just prefer like a one-on-one conversation. Like, hey, I heard you tried something new in your class. It was a good job. Some people want to be celebrated in front of their peers, right? Walk into a department meeting and be like, hey, you guys might not all know it, but I saw her rocking this thing in her classroom. Some people want just a Post-it note, man. I left a Post-it note in Janet Mann's classroom. I was the principal of this high school. I left a Post-it note in Janet Mann's classroom. I was like, hey, you're awesome. I came back to her class like 4 years later. That Post-it note was next to her phone, and it dawned on me. I'm like, oh my God, I don't give you enough Post-it notes. If that felt good and it stayed for 4 years, oh my God. So I just started writing Post-it notes covering the whole classroom, you know? Right? Look, the only thing that's going to keep you going through the struggle, through the tension, is knowing that we celebrate that which we wish to perpetuate and that you're going to celebrate your own effort. But if you have somebody helping you, if you have an accountability partner, if you're like, hey, I'm trying Flipgrid on Monday, this is going to be interesting. Then your partner's going to be like, how'd it go? Total fail. You're awesome for trying. Try it again, right? Because we lean on the people that we learn with. We're here at the conference to learn new things. And if we celebrate each other for effort, for trying, we praise wisely, we will inspire each other to struggle through the tension and eventually end up in a place that was never before even conceivable. Hey, look, I said I'm going to talk about the rubber band theory to inspire learning, SAMR to implement something new, and the power of celebration. I hope that you go out today, find a desired state from one of our amazing conference presenters. I hope you go back on Monday morning and try something new. I hope that you start with substitution. I hope it leads to redefinition, and I hope you celebrate every stretch along the way. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is John Eick.